Hi, welcome to the Fire Up Connect Radio Talk Show. I'm your host, James Foo Torres, and I'm the CEO and founder of Imperium Authority, which is a public relations firm that specializes on helping B2B and self-improvement experts increase their brand authority. And today I have three very important board members of the Strategic Advisor Board. I have Joe Trujillo, which is the Director of Purchasing and Manufacturing. I have Chris O'Byrne, Director of Acquisition and Publishing, and I have Will Black, the Director of Payments and Finance. And without further ado, I have Joe Trujillo. Thanks for being here in the show. I'm excited to see what kind of value you can give to the audience, and really how can you help them to create some actionable steps that they can apply right away in their business.
Sure.
So, first of all, so I want you to introduce yourself so the audience know who you are and what you do in the Strategic Advisor Board.
Yeah, so for the Strategic Advisor Board, I serve as Director and Vice President of Purchasing and Manufacturing. And that just comes from my background, about 20 years plus in contract manufacturing. What I do is, as we acquire clientele, I kind of just guide them through a value stream map or a supply chain type model of working with processes and learning more about project management. I also like to adopt Lean Six Sigma methodologies that really kind of trim down expenditures and product throughput. So that's usually what I do first and foremost with our clientele. I'm kind of the corporate guy turned independent business consultant, and I paired up with the Strategic Advisor Board about a year and a half ago. And I really haven't looked back ever since. It's really rewarding to be able to work with these clients and my colleagues in this aspect. So like I said, I focus mainly on the purchasing, supply chain, and manufacturing of our clientele. And that usually starts early on in the process. But it's also nice to be able to see all that kind of come to fruition as you pass it off, or you get it handed to from, let's say, the marketing colleagues or the publishing colleagues and whatnot. So that's pretty much what we do from my arena in the Strategic Advisor Board. And so I'm sure you'll hear from some of the others how they kind of pick up the ball and run with it. But it's usually very imperative early on with our clients to get the groundwork set. So I'm sure as you hear in a number of certain situations, you got to have that solid foundation before you can start building upon anything, right? And that's kind of where purchasing and manufacturing come in with the clientele. It's just establishing the pillars of success for our clientele, and so that they can start really tailoring those individual pillars and developing processes and projects that surround around each of those pillars themselves.
Nice. That's great to hear. Like things that I can point out that you just say, like always you mention things about like the team and like how do you integrate with others. And that's why something that I really like about the Strategic Advisor Board, because it's all about community. And I'm all about that. And that's why I love being part of that community, being connected, because everybody is their expert in their field and we all connect to each other and help each other out. So the clients really get a really complete service. And that's awesome. Like, that's what I like the most. And so one thing that I want to ask you all of you guys is, what can you tell the audience, like of business owners or people that listen to me because of my segment, and they would like, given your expertise, what kind of advice you can give them of like actionable steps that could be just short and precise and things that they can apply quick?
Yeah, so from my perspective, the contract manufacturing and the purchasing aspect of any business, large or small, it really comes down to front door to back door. I mean, have you broken down everything from your client acquisition process to how you deliver your product and service? And I'm not talking about getting so far into the weeds where you get lost in writing standard operating procedures for each step along the way. What I'm talking about is keeping it just high level and simple. Can you apply it to a simple business model? Talk to me about how you're marketing your product or service. Tell me about your target demographic. tell me what your competitors are doing, and then tell me what you're doing differently to separate yourself from your competitors. And then, talk about the inputs and outputs of your business. That could be as simple as revenue and costs. Are you spending more than you're earning? What are you doing with your earnings? Are you reinvesting into the company? So I think it's just keeping it simple, going back to the basics of a business model, and then from there, looking for, just as the Strategic Advisor Board would tell you, looking for the small pivots for growth.
That's very important. That's something that Jason has passed on to me a lot. He definitely stressed that out. Like, just in business, you always have to constantly be doing small pivots to keep up with the trends, to keep up with the current events, to like keep up with policy changes, right? So there's all kinds of changes that are happening constantly that we always have to be ready to do. It's sometimes even bigger pivots like COVID, right? That's something that really caused a bigger pivot than expected. So one other thing that I would like to ask you about is, so that given that I'm the PR like guy for like Strategic Advisor Board, and given your expertise and in your field, how do you see PR like going right now, and like how important do you think that is, and how are you planning to leverage it in this next months or years to come?
I mean, I think in the past 2-3 years, we've seen a substantial change in the way businesses are being marketed. Everybody thought jumping on social media was going to be the wave of the future, but what we found out is it just became so diluted, and so much marketing went into those platforms, which, to some degree, it works. It gets your name out there, but I don't think it really pushes the product or service that most people are looking for, especially in startup businesses. Like I said, great for getting the business name out there, not really great at showcasing what your product and service could do for you. So I think, and we've been working with you, taking it to just different levels, making it a premium product and service, getting on those platforms that nobody else is hitting. So, a lot of people say print is dead. I disagree. I think a lot of people are kind of starting to swing back towards the websites and the content writing for blogs. And they're really starting to go back to the .coms to find out what the to-dos are for businesses. I think people are waking up with their list of articles to read. So email campaigns are another form that is just coming back around. I think that everybody with their morning coffee is just flipping through their emails and kind of just burning and turning, and then kind of highlighting and picking out what's going to work best for them. So again, maybe it doesn't always apply to you 100%, but I do think there are those golden nuggets out there. And especially when you're a small business trying to grow, you got to put yourself out there. And it's got to be 100%. You got to believe in it, and you really got to follow through. So I would say that with the marketing, again, times have changed, but you gotta try stuff, and you gotta try what's different, and you gotta make yourself, and you gotta separate yourself from your competitors. And I think that's what works best in the marketing world.
And I totally agree. I might be a little biased, right? Because I do PR, but definitely I agree with that, because with what's happening with paid ads and everything, PR and news articles with substance is really what people are looking for, to come in from a source that they can trust, and then a story that they can relate and they can feel something. So thanks Joe for sharing all that valuable expertise, and I'll see you around in the SAB community.
All right, James, appreciate it.
All right, so we're going to go to commercials now, and then we're going to come right back to have Chris O'Byrne to talk about the acquisition and publishing, and how is that important. So we'll be right back.